calls coming from inside the house. I have no impulse control when it comes to books. Did I just haul about 60 books for my birthday? Yeah. And what did I do when I saw that a local library near me was hosting a book sale, a Friends of the Library sale? Did I, like a normal person, say, oh, I might go look for some Christmas gifts or get 1 or 2 items for myself, you know, just maybe peruse around because I gotta return some loans anyway? No. Did I go and buy about 10 books for myself and then spend like an hour perusing the library for loans and then get so many loans in my arms that a security guard got concerned and went to go get me a cart? Yeah. Yeah, I left the library with 20 books. And I still had like 5 checked out from my previous loans. My ratio of return checkout is not good, and I have some Libby loans. So we have some work to do, as Dean Winchester would say. So that's what we're going to prioritize. We're going to focus on getting my libraries done, my library loans read, done, and out of my house, back to the library so that other people can enjoy them. I also want to finally finish some long-standing books on my TBR, on my currently reading shelf, and start some of the new exciting books that I've gotten for my birthday or that I've gotten recently. So come along with me. I don't have a planned TBR for this except for said library loan. So we're just gonna find out together. Cool. Real quick, let's talk about some of my successes and current reads because I have to head out to go to work in like 15 minutes. So let's make this quick. But I do have some updates, some victories to start off this video because I am late in making an update in between the time that I should have made an update and now I've finished 2 books. The 2 small victories I have are 2 tiny library books that I finished. The first is A Bound Woman is a Dangerous Thing. This is a collection of poems, The Incarceration of African American Women from Harriet Tubman to Sandra Bland. This is not just a collection of poems, but also biographical anecdotes about exactly what it says. This was beautiful. It was poignant. I really enjoyed the history lesson, like the condensed but impactful history lessons on each of these women and their impact on America, their impact that is still far-reaching from the centuries before to now and will be into the future. I thought it was beautifully done. I loved learning about it. It gave me a lot more to research and to look into. I love this. So if you're looking for a really, really impactful poetry and just writing in general, I highly recommend this. I haven't heard anyone talk about it. So Nothing But Blackened Teeth. This, I saw at my library and listen, I'm a simple girl. I love demons. I especially love anything having to do with yokai. I love Japanese mythology. I love Japanese culture, especially surrounding the yokai. I just think it's so interesting and so fascinating. So when I saw this at my library, and the opening cover says, a gorgeously creepy haunted house tale steeped in Japanese folklore. That's my whole thing. I love haunted places. I love Japanese folklore. And it's just a tiny little dude, you know? So I was like, yeah, give that to me. I started reading it, and very verbose, very bleh in the first few pages. But I liked it well enough, and so I recommended it to Jan, because I was like, this kind of sounds up Jan's alley. And Jan was like, yeah, I hated that book. And so many other people in chat were like, yeah, we also did not like that book. I don't know where I've been, but apparently people don't like this, and I should have listened. But because it's such a shorty, because I want to help support my local library, I was like, I'm going to continue on with it. I ended up giving it a 2 out of 5, and I will tell you why. And Stephen Graham Jones, bro, respectfully, I disagree with your blurb on the back. I love the idea of this, okay? 4 people go into a haunted house in Japan and get their comeuppance with the yokai and a vengeful spirit. I love it. Especially, like, unlikable characters, okay? I love it. The execution, not great. The writing had moments of prose and descriptions that were absolutely beautiful, but Jan described this as, like, something to do with the thesaurus, and she was absolutely right. It's just jam-packed with too much verboseness. The verbosity, why? I don't get it. I honestly don't. But if that's just the writer's style, then respectfully, I guess the writer's style isn't for me. And also, it felt like the story has no point, which is the main problem that I have with litfic in general. And even though this is not really supposed to be litfic, I don't think. Along through the reading, I was like, why do I care? Like, what's the point? Like, what is the point of this story? And you don't really get it until, like, the last 30 pages, which is saying something, considering this is a 120-something page story. What else am I reading? I'm reading Too Hard to Forget. Also, 2 out of 5 star book so far, but I don't have time to rant to you about that. Just know that I am reading it, and I'm, like, 1/3 of the way through it. Things that I am enjoying. Hood feminism. This has been a long time coming, me reading this, but I was in my library looking around and they just so happened to actually have it on the shelves this week, so I said, you're coming home with me. And I'm also reading Cast at the same time. I got Cast from my library at the same time, so I'm reading both of those. I also started Razorblade Tears. Yeah, baby, I jam-packed these loans in. I'm really liking this. I love Buddy Lee. I would do insane things for Buddy Lee so far. I'm only 4 chapters in, but I'm loving it. Don't do that again, Chey. That's where we're at. I have to go to work. Oh, let me tell you about this real fast. Let me tell you about this, because I am also loving this. Drinking from Graveyard Wells. How do they describe it? The author assembles poignantly reflective stories that center the voices of African-American women charting their own Black history through the ages, and drawing on her own early experiences on a Zimbabwean living under the Mugabe dictatorship. This is a collection of short stories that center around African women throughout various situations, life, death, love, grief, and I'm loving it so much. I think each story has been really good. I think the first one is still my favorite, but the one I just read pretty recently was also really good too. The one about the ants, pretty good, but I like the first one the best, so I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I am enjoying this so far. I am loving this, and the fact that it's at my library really surprises me considering where I live, but I'm so happy that it is. I'm so happy that it is, and I haven't heard anyone talk about it, and it's a shame. So if you want some short stories written by a BIPOC author, about BIPOC women, about BIPOC people, not just women, but centering around BIPOC women. Now I'm gonna go. I gotta go. Did I just have sort of my own little cramming session before midnight tonight on July 31st? Yes, I absolutely did. Did I just finish 3 books about 17 minutes to midnight? It's 11:43 right now. Yes. Yes, I just did. Am I going to tell you about these 3 library books right now? No. No, I am not. I'm going to bed. Good night. Long time no see. It's been a couple days, and I have been promising you a review of the 3 books that I crammed in one night, so let's finally get to that, shall we? This lighting is doing no favors for my face. Drinking from Graveyard Wells. For some reason, I feel like I have cotton mouth. I absolutely love this. This was 4.5 out of 5 stars for me, or maybe 5 stars, but I loved it. This is probably one of my favorite short story collections I've read, besides Never Whistle at Night. For a while, the first 2 stories were my favorite, or the first story was my favorite, but then there were a couple of bangers back to back towards the end. I liked every single one of them. There wasn't one that I didn't like, but I feel like the strongest were the first, and then several towards the end. I especially like Water Bites Back, because as we all know, I am an eco-defense is self-defense girly, so I love that one. You mess with nature, you mess with local folklore, you get the horns. This author has beautiful prose, has beautiful storytelling, is able to weave together several threads throughout the short stories that make sense, but they don't have to be connected, yet it helps you connect different themes throughout it. Womanhood, grief, cultural differences, racism, classism, the struggles of poverty, the struggles of just living in the world as a woman, and especially as a woman of color and low income and coming from a different world entirely, or just feeling the isolation of feeling like being from a different world. Highly recommend it. If you can find it at your local library, go check it out. Or honestly, go pick up a copy, because this is gonna get added to my cart. This is gonna get added to my TBR want list. Or I should say, just want list. The Book Swap. Tessa Vickers. This was on my library's new releases shelf, and originally it was a 14-day loan, but I've had it for a month. This is a romance that is between former friends to enemies to... So what happens is there's a little free library involved. Our main character, our main girl, what's her name? Erin is deciding to make changes in her life. She lost her best friend Bonnie a couple of years ago to cancer. And Erin has been really trying to get her life together, so she ends up quitting her job and she's throwing out a bunch of her belongings. She's just decluttering, right? She's Marie Kondoing it. But she's always loved literature, she's always loved English, and she ends up donating a lot of her books to a little free library in her neighborhood. But tragedy strikes when she realizes she accidentally donated one of her beloved copies of her books that she has annotated for years, like since high school, since middle school. She has annotated all over this thing, left notes in it, and more importantly, left the last thing that Bonnie ever gave her in it, like her favorite postcard. Well, she goes back pretty often to look for the book, and finally it reappears in the little free library. And when she grabs it, she sees that notes have been made under her notes, that someone has responded to all of her annotations. So she and this mystery person kind of strike up a relationship through books. They start talking through these books. And meanwhile, we're following this other character named James, who is also having an adventure of his own with books and annotations and swapping them through the library. So it's very good. It's a very cute romance. It's a great story. It was 3.5 out of 5 for me. And I'll tell you why. This is the author's debut novel. And that's okay, because it is a great, great swing. This makes me excited for their future work. However, I can tell that this is a debut novel, and I don't mean that as an insult. I say that because I am excited for their future work, and I can be kinder to this one because I thought that the story was told really well. I thought that the mechanics, I thought that the characters, I thought that the details worked really well. I think overall this book just needed a little bit more polishing. There were some details and just some mechanics here and there that felt a little bit rough, but nothing so bad that it took me out of the story, nothing that made me roll my eyes, nothing that made me want to put down the book. It was just things that I think won't be an issue once the writer has a little bit more under their belt, once they get a little bit more comfortable in their style. Like, it felt like more of a trying this way. You know what I mean? It was nothing bad, nothing wrong. It just felt like it needs a little bit more polishing here and there. The way that things are told, certain things with the pacing, certain ways that things are presented. But I still loved it overall. Like, 3.5 out of 5. With the polishing, it would have brought it up to a 4 out of 5. Because I thought the characters were really unique. I thought that their background was really unique. But for instance, such as things that bothered the friends or the past that was brought up, I felt like we could have delved a little bit more into those things. I felt like certain I have to say things, that way I don't spoil it for you, could have been shifted in such a way to give a little bit more impact with their context. I say try it. I say read it. I had such a great time, and I am definitely going to be checking out the author's further work. So I highly recommend this to you. It was a good, beautiful time. It also made me want to go start up a book swap of my own at a little free library. And I will say, this is probably the latest romance that actually had me on the edge of my seat until the very end. I was like, don't you dare do what I think you're about to do. Don't you dare not do this to me. Ended up okay. So Tessa, you almost got me. You almost got a strongly worded letter. J.D. Vance is a fake hillbilly. I said what I said. I read this pretty much in 2 nights. This was sitting at my library 2 books away from J.D. Vance's book, which I think is just incredible. God, I love the library. This is a short little read by Frank Kilgore, a real mountaineer, and if you did not know, there he is with his fish. I love this book. Do I agree with everything the author says? No. Do I think that this is a book that was needed in context compared to JD's? Do I think that JD got his butt whooped in a literary sense? Absolutely I do. Did it feel like a breath of fresh air and more like talking to the kind of people that I was actually raised with and brought up by? Yes, absolutely. This is the kind of people that I love, that I grew up with, that I'm like, yes, we need to talk about more of the diversity that isn't put on center stage when we talk about Appalachia into the mainstream conversation. Because it really isn't. Like, there is so much stereotyping, as I talk about when I went into my review of Demon Copperhead. If you really want to read a great book on what it's like to grow up in disenfranchised Appalachia, read Demon Copperhead. My childhood. At least so many elements. And I would say read this as a companion to Demon Copperhead. Like I said, do I agree with everything this author says? No. They actually surprise me at how progressive yet slightly Republican they are. I say Republican because it's not conservative. It's not conservative. Certain things lean a little bit Republican though. But it's like back in the days when there used to be 2 sides before it became what it is. You know what I mean? But very progressive. very, very progressive, which I think is a great point, because this author is able to tell so much of our history and tell the flip side and also give JD a whooping on his tail like he deserves. This man would fight JD Vance behind a 7-Eleven with his hands tied behind his back, and he would whoop him. If you want a true peek, a true taste test into, because I'm sure the author even knows that this is like a taste test into the history of Appalachia that really needs to be told. There's no way you could fit all this into a book this size. There's no way you could fit all of it into one book. But this author does a great taste test introduction to starting to flip the narrative and hopefully undo some of the damage that guy has done to our region and insulting it in the common zeitgeist. It goes into the diversity of the region, the determination, our strength, our weaknesses, our downfalls, but also things that we should take pride in, but have been long ignored by the common zeitgeist in favor of just absolutely going to pound town on us with insults and blah 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 dumb hick hillbillies, when actually not the truth. We've been everyone's slapstick for so long that no one actually wants to acknowledge how diverse and smart and storied that we are. So if you want a good start on that journey into undoing the learned classism and learned hillbilly hatred in your head, start here. I'm still currently reading Too Hard to Forget, which I don't know if I've ranted to you about this or not, so I'll just do a little mini rant here. That book is basically Catholic guilt, yet horny. That's what that book is. I'm gonna finish it just so I can read book 4, but that's neither here nor there. I want to talk about something I am enjoying. Stormfront by Jim Butcher. This is the first book in the Dresden Files, aka a series that I've been wanting to get my hands on for a very long time because I've heard great things about it and that I would probably love it. I was not as immediately hooked into this series as I thought it was. So basically, this dude, Harry Dresden, is a wizard. It's basically wizard noir. It's a magical paranormal realm fantasy, but like detective, okay? Yeah, pretty sick. I didn't start off loving it as much as I thought I would. I mean, I really liked it, but I don't know, I expected to be super hooked in, and I am, but it came as like a sneak attack. I don't know what crack is in this book, but like, I'm just devouring it. And I liked it from the get-go, but something about it just has me, it's so addictive, and it's so easy to read. I'm just having such a good time. I see why there's like 1 million books in this series. I can see why. I'm already loving it. I'm already having such a good time. So I'm going to continue reading this. I also started reading Act Your Age, Eve Brown. I read a chapter in this, and I'm interested to see where it goes. Nothing else to say much besides that. 2 of my library loans came in today. As if I didn't have enough already. I got The Black Tongue Thief, which I love Between Two Fires, and Black Tongue Thief has been on my TBR for a long time. But when Between Two Fires became one of my favorite books of like last year, I knew I had to get my hands on it. And the first 2 lines, yeah. I also got my holdback for Julie Chen is Dead, so I'm going to keep reading that because there's something in that book, too, that is just making me turn each and every page. So it goes. So our goal this week is to finish all of these library loans as much as physically possible, especially the Final Girl Support Group and A Little Hatred. I have to turn these in on Friday. I go home on Thursday. Have I started either of them? I read a chapter in Final Girl Support Group, and yet I'm reading these other books that I have extended loans on. We have a lot of work to do. I'm about to go to bed. I gotta go wash my arm from the mysterious bite that we don't know if it was from a spider or what. Even the doctor looked at me and she was like, tarantula? So, I gotta go take care of that. Just another day in the life of Chey. And I'm gonna get in bed and read. See you tomorrow. Fun quick update. Actually, I won't be reading this. I really started on the first chapter and I was like, I think I need to finish the first Law trilogy first. I've read the first book. I have not read the rest of the trilogy. Popping into some reviews, pretty much everyone that I saw has the same consensus. So I will not be reading the rest of this right now. I'm gonna finish the first Law trilogy first, which I don't foresee being a problem. But for now, that knocks one book off my currently reading list. I wish I had known that beforehand. But it's nice to know that this is available in my library when I need it. So I am probably going to read a chapter in Act Your Age, Eve Brown, Maybe 1 or 2 on my Libby holds on my phone, but then I'm going to bed because it's after midnight already. I have some updates for you. It's been a little bit, and I finished a couple more books, and I'm going to basically read out my Goodreads reviews to you because shockingly, I wrote some, and I'm much smarter than I am, so I'm just gonna use them as bullet points to talk to you about to make sure I don't forget anything. I also just filmed 2 videos in under 30 minutes a piece. Not together, a piece. So I don't know who I am, but is what it is. Why did I do that? Ow! First of all, let's talk about Too Hard to Forget. I gave this a 2.5 for Crimes Against Word Kind. The first half of this book made me so viscerally angry, and then the back half almost saved it. So I didn't absolutely outright hate this book, and if it wasn't for the Crimes Against Word Kind, it would have been a 3-star. It just middle of the road. It's fine. Especially because it would have been a 2-star, but the way that it picked up at the end helped it. So let me explain. I'll explain my structural problems first, and then the Crimes Against Word Kind. Actually, I'll just post the Crimes Against Word Kind over my face here. So, no I won't, actually, because not that I'm monetized, but I just don't want to traumatize you. So, I'll link my Goodreads, I guess, down in the description, and if you want to go read my review, I list some of them in the review. So I'll just do that. That way I won't traumatize you here. Except, I'll tell you this one, Wet Me Up, Make Me Shiny. Jail! Okay, back to the structure. That's all I'm going to say about the Crimes Against Word Kind, but there's more. My structural problems with this book is that I don't care about the romance in the very beginning. We have been building up in the previous books hints about Peggy's past, hints about she needs this second chance romance, or she's going to take revenge and get him off of her brain, you know, for forever or whatever. But in this book, I expected to get a little more backstory, a little more background. But we are never told why we should care or why we should root for either her revenge or for this romance to rekindle. And Nat was telling me that that can be a struggle with second chance romances, and I can get that. I don't know how many second chance romances I've read, so maybe it's just me. No, it's not just me, and I'll tell you why. Because the only info that we are given for pretty much the first half of the entire book, I'd say except for the last 150 pages, the only history that we are given between them, besides them themselves talking about this deep kind of love that they know that they had for each other, this special connection that they had, even if they didn't use the word love, the only actual, like, history that we're given between them is how much they went to Pound Town with each other and how much they like boning each other. It's a glorified hookup. That is the impression that we are given. So why the hell would I be invested in, like, this revenge or rekindling romance story when it's basically a glorified hookup is all the meat that you're giving me? That ain't the only meat Peggy was getting, but it's the only meat that we're given in the story. Give me a reason to believe the indications of what they're saying, because they are, whenever they're with each other, whenever they're without each other, they have these internal monologues being like, oh, they were so special to me. They were so special. Blah, blah, blah. Not that a hookup can't mean a lot to you, but the impression that they're giving is that they have very strong feelings for each other and that they're splitting up or whatever happened between them was akin to a heart, like a real heartbreak. I mean, this has got her fucked up for 4 engagements. So either he's really that good in the sack, or like there's something else going on, which is what we're indicated, but we're not given any freaking proof. And I'm not asking for a whole chapter. Give me a paragraph about her being sick and him bringing her soup. Just give me something. And we're not really given that until about halfway through the book when we should already be enticed by it. And then we're hit with cavalcade after cavalcade of story after story and proof of them actually having more than just hookup feelings for each other. We're given glimpses into the past where they did care about each other, where they did have a bond deeper than just how far he can go inside of her. You know what I mean? So it pissed me off, because it's like, what is this doing at the back of the book? It made me so angry. It frustrated me so much because I was like, oh, now we're getting to it. Now I actually root for the romance. And at the end, I did end up rooting for them being together. This book, as I said, it's just Catholic guilt goes horny. That's it. That's it. Elliot has guilt for his wife who has passed on and not really being there for his daughter over the years, which is understandable. Another thing that frustrated me was that, you know, he takes it out on Peggy, which he acknowledges, even if he doesn't really have the verbiage for it. And Peggy herself acknowledges it in ways to herself that she knows this is what's going on, yet she's still mystified by the way that he keeps his distance from her and what he's mad about. Girl, the call is coming from inside the house. I said in my Goodreads review, I said, instead of sucking face, if you love each other so much, why not talk to him about it? Oh yeah, too busy sucking face. To note, at the end of this book, I thought it ended well. It personally did something that makes me cringe like hell, but that's a personal note. I thought the ending was fitting for the book itself and for the characters and for the circumstance. So I'll give it that. And I will also give that I ended up liking Peggy more at the end of the book than I did at the beginning. I ended up seeing more about her character that I liked, seeing deeper into her depth, and I liked it. I wish that we had gotten more glimpses of that in the other book, so I wasn't so much filled with vitriol towards her until now. But, you know, I am glad that she had a character arc that I got to go along and that I ended up liking. And there were little gems of lines here and there, such as, "What are you doing here? I wanted to be where you are." Simple, beautiful, swoon, but make me shine. I'm so glad it's done. I'm so glad it's done. Let's talk about something better, shall we? How a romance is supposed to be done. Protecting Remy, Seal of Protection, Alliance Book 1. I got this book from my library because the cover looked cringe, and I knew it was either going to be super cringe or super good. At least these covers make me personally cringe. I told Nat, I was like, I can't read this on Libby without this muff's face coming up and staring at me. Stop looking at me. This book was such a fun 5-star time. I ate this book the up. This was one of those rare books where I was like, oh, reading actually flies by when you're having fun. I forget what that's like until I read something like this. It was so fun and self-aware. I had an amazing time. I'm giggling, I'm kicking my little feetsies. And it's not even like the military romance aspect. Like, that was cool. You know what? It's the story itself, which is so good. I also might be a little bit biased because it turns out that I'm in this book. Imagine my surprise when I turn the page and Cheyenne is listed there, and she has a similar sense of humor to me. And of course, she's married to the Navy SEAL nicknamed Dude, because that couldn't be more on brand for Chey if someone tried. I sent all that information to my ex, who's still like one of my best friends, and he was like, who ghost wrote you in a book? I also found out that she and all the other wives, which I may have mentioned this in a different update, but whatever. I ended up loving all the, I hate to say side characters, but the team members that were mentioned that played a very vital role. And I loved how they were interwoven exactly the way they needed to be because of that close-knit life being on the SEAL teams and just being in the military in general, but especially in something like the SEAL teams. I thought that all the characters, the wives, the friendships, even of the non-military FMC, like her relationships, I thought they all played the role that they needed to play, and they were all different, and they were all interesting and intriguing. So I'm very excited to announce that all those team members, all his SEAL team members, are actually the original series. This is the first book of the new series, and all of them have their own books in the original series, which I will be devouring very soon, especially my book. But back to this one. The main thing that I love so much about this book, the communication. The communication. Wow. It's an amazing concept. It's such a hard concept for romance writers to get through, to get through the story, apparently. Remy and Kevlar, which I still can't get over that being mostly what he's called. Remy and Kevlar are thrown together when they're stranded in the middle of the ocean, right? And then they just sort of start falling for each other. Granted, it's not like insta love or anything like that. Once they get rescued, they're like, wow, the hours we spent with each other out there in the ocean, like, I kind of like you, like, I'm having a time with you, like, I feel like I can trust you, we get along, clearly, and it goes from there. What I love most, though, is the communication where they acknowledge how weird their situation is, how irrational their situation might be to anyone else, where they're like, well, hey, we've barely known each other like 48 hours, but I really like you. Like, the time that I spent with you, I really like you. I feel like we have this connection with each other, and that's a little, like, fast, don't you think? but that's how I feel. And they both acknowledge it. And it's the fact that they can both acknowledge it and then both talk about it and communicate and consent to it, that then they can just go forward with it. And it's understandable and it's realistic. As I said in my review, it drives me crazy when in books characters are like, isn't it crazy we just met? But I want to have your babies. Cool. Okay. So, this was a freaking breath of fresh air. They communicated about it with each other, and the fact that they both understand and they consent to it and they decide to go forward in it together takes the weirdness out of it, because it becomes their normal. And as long as it works for them, that's what matters. It's really as simple as that. And they continue to do this step by step throughout the book, throughout their relationship. Where they're like, do you think it's a little soon if I introduce you to my best friend? But it's like, they're really important in my life, and I really like you and like the relationship, or like what we have spent together. And it's like, no, like, I want to meet the person that's important to you. Consent, talking, understanding. It's amazing what communication can do. So if you want to read a book that has amazing communication, even during the spicy scenes, this author gets a 5-star from me. Was it also goofy and campy sometimes? Yes. And did the action feel like watching the SEAL Teams show on ABC or like 911 or something like that? Yes. Did I know how it was going to end? Yes. But I had a fun ride the whole way. It was just fun. All of the characters were unique and interesting and had their own personalities that just played their own integral role in the story. It was just well done. The only slight personal criticism that I have is the heavy emphasis and consistent talk about how challenging it is to be a military partner, which he is talking to Remy about. And I understand, I say this as a personal thing because it makes sense in the context of the story. Remy is not familiar with the military life, like she is just now being introduced to it when she meets Kevlar. And so it makes sense that he's telling her, you know, he's making sure that she's aware of all these challenges and strifes, but also like rewards that come with it. So I get it and it makes sense, but I have spent so much of my life entrenched in military stuff that it's just something that I've heard over and over and over and over. And so it's a little bit annoying to me personally, but looking at it objectively in the book, I don't think it's overwhelming. I think it makes sense. And so that's just a personal thing for me, but it didn't knock off any points. It's just something that I wanted to note. So if you, like me, are familiar with that stuff, you might just be like, yep, I'm skipping a few lines down because I know this, but it's here and there, so it's fine. And I also can't be mad about it because it's also communication. I had such a great time with this book, and I can't wait to, I really hope that the rest of the series holds up. I really, really do, because I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I really hope that my book holds up too. As for whatever the hell I'm reading right now, I have to go turn in a bunch of books to the library. I am giving up on finishing the Final Girl Support Group and Sister Maiden Monster? What are you? Sister Maiden Monster. I'm giving it because they're due tomorrow, and I won't be here tomorrow because I'm going to a concert, so I'll be staying elsewhere. So I'm giving up on those for now. I will get them on Libby later, but I'm just giving up on the physical reads right now. As for what I'm reading right now, I'm probably just going to continue with Act Your Age, Eve Brown, because I'm flying through it, and also Stormfront, because I'm also flying through it, and just really try and read down my library holds. So whenever I have an update on that, I'll talk to you more on that, but it's where we are now. So I had a low and then a high. And the first book in the series, in the main series, Protecting Caroline, or the original series, I should say, I'm gonna wait. I'm holding myself out on reading it until I finish more of my library holds. That way I don't feel pulled in like so many directions. But you will hear about it. You will hear about it. Okay, I'm gonna go because I'm starving. Goodbye. I finished a couple books since I last talked to you. Let's catch you up on what I've finished. I think I'm gonna I almost said endish this vlog whenever I finish Sky Daddy. When will I finish that? I don't know, but that's when this video will end, I guess. I just sat here and finished Dark Lover, but we're gonna start with the one that I finished soonest after I last talked to you, which is The Distraction. This was pretty good. I rated it like 4 out of 5. Nothing wrong with it. If you want just a good, the audiobook was really good too. If you want just a good, fun Hallmark, like modern Hallmark, like the type of Hallmark movies that actually have gay couples in them that are not stereotypes, but with more spice, this is kind of your read. Like, it was easy to follow through. Thank you, Nat. I like the characters. I love the communication. The man, written by a woman. You can tell. The lady said no is all you need to know. I had a great time. This is also the book that made me realize I cannot do smut on audio. I just can't do it. I can't take it seriously, especially when, God bless the voice actors, God bless the narrators, God bless them. But whenever there's a female narrator trying to do the male voice during a spicy scene, I laugh. I don't see how people find it sexy. I can't. I just find it very funny and cringy. No offense to the narrators who are doing their best and they are crushing it. I'm just like, I don't like this. I don't like this. Also, though, I'm not a fan of ASMR, so are we shocked? No. This was fun, though. It was a good time. I'd continue on with the series just out of curiosity, if there's physical books, or I should say just, like, ebooks. The next book that I finished was my book, Protecting Cheyenne. I thought that I was going to wait until I finished Protecting Caroline, but then Nat tagged me in the romance book tag thing, and I was like, well, by the time I do this, I want to read my book to know if I want to count my dude as a dude for the tag. So I caved and got it. I've also started reading Protecting Caroline. I don't know when I'll finish that, so I may include it in this vlog if I finish it before Sky Daddy, which is very, very, very possible. I think I'm already, like, almost halfway through it. These books are very, very easy to binge. So I started reading my book. I finished it in probably less than 12 hours, because I started it close to midnight last night, and I think I finished it before lunch today. Yeah, I binged it. I loved it. So I don't know how much this author wrote before she got to the book. I was holding it lightly, though, because the book that I first read for this vlog, Protecting Remy, came out this year. Whereas I believe Protecting Cheyenne, that whole series, like, came out in 2015. So I was like, okay, it's aged 10 years. We did not have the best representation of a lot of things back then, and a lot of things were very different back then, so I was like, I'm gonna give it some grace in case some things, not atrocious things, but, you know, little things haven't aged well. Surprisingly, the only thing that really it didn't even bug me, I was just like, we should reevaluate that now, is the representation of BDSM. Dude is sexually active, and, you know, as a lot of the characters in these books, especially the men, can kind of have reputations to be or have been. And he sort of, like, portrays BDSM, at least in his mind. I guess you could say that, like, this is just, like, one character's perspective. It's not how it's represented throughout the book, so let me tell you about that, too, because it's not. It's just how this character says it. Whenever someone brings up the topic of BDSM to him, he's like, no, I don't want, like, no, not all that crap that comes with it. Yeah, I'm into dom and sub, but not all the kind of, like, whips and chains and flogging that comes with BDSM. And it's like, BDSM, like, now, I feel like a lot, I mean, it was open then, but now the conversation is even more wide open about it, and I think we're talking about sexual health a lot more, and boundaries and consent and stuff, and so I think that is something that I'm just like, that would have aged a little bit differently, but it's not bad. It's just something of note. You want to know something freaky? Chey, he calls her Shy, which, by the way, I was called Shy until college. And then pretty much everyone started calling me Chey. So, most people still call me Shy, though. She also has brown hair and brown eyes. And we have the same middle name. It's spelled differently. She doesn't have an H in it. But, hello, Susan? Susan, do we need to have a talk? Susan? It's getting freaky. Especially, Shine has the same sense of humor I do. And the way that she reacts to things and the insecurities. Thankfully, I don't have the problems with the mom and sister like she does. Mainly because I don't have a sister. And number two, my mom's not a nightmare. At least not in that aspect. Dude, though, I got called out. I was like, yep, so where's mine? Fictional me gets to have one. I love him. Where is he? Where's my copy, Susan? Where's my complimentary copy, Susan? No, but I love him. He is probably one of my favorite male protagonists in a romance novel. I'd like to see Susan's take on it now, because reading Protecting Remy versus this, I can tell her writing has definitely evolved, which makes me wonder how early on in this series, or early on in her writing career this series was, because again, it's been 10 years, and even if these weren't her first books, then it was still going to evolve over 10 years. So I would I would be very interested if she were to ever kind of re-edit them, what she would change or how she, like, the spicy scenes especially, because they were still great. Also, the communication aspect, still top tier. I love a man written by a woman. That is something that has not changed, that was done so well, that I love so much, was the communication. And there were parts where, so, dude is very bossy, and he's not controlling, or he's controlling, but no, he's bossy. He's not controlling, he's bossy. But he has to make it clear and have a talk. I was like, are we gonna actually have a scene where he tells her, like, you can tell me no. I'm stubborn. And there was a whole communication surrounding the bossiness and being independent and hyper independent and stuff like that, which was so nice to see, because I wasn't sure, but Susan came through. I should have trusted her. And it was very, very, I'm in this picture. I would like to be in this picture. I'm in this picture. I would also like to actually be in this picture, but not in the specific scenarios that poor fictional Cheyenne got herself into. But the sense of humor that she has, and she got the ideal man. She lucked out there. I love him. Wish I could have me a copy. In terms of the kind of guy I like, dude hits so many of the marks. Wow. And the last book that I finished, literally just 13 minutes ago, Dark Lover by J.R. Ward. This is the first book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. Wow. I didn't butcher that. I'm sorry, the Warden does it again. I knew I was gonna love this from the first read. This is my first ever book by her, but I love her as just an entity, as a person. She cracks me up. I knew I was gonna love the book from, like, the first chapter in. It took me a while to get through it, just because I wanted to actually dedicate my time and attention to it and not be, yeah. I finished it at the perfect time. I binge read this so much. The humor in it, the spice, the character. Talk about an ideal man. It's between Wrath and Dude for me. I don't know how I got banger after banger men in books that I'm reading, but Wrath and Dude. Wrath and Dude. I'd like to take them on a trip to France. I wonder if they've ever seen it. I've been really lucking out with romances lately, especially ones with humor and good tropes in them and good spice. It's been such a fun time. I'm live, laugh, loving. For my book, and especially the Dark Lover, I keep saying my book because it feels weird saying my name. But for that and Dark Lover, I was literally sending Nat screenshots of just pages, entire pages highlighted in my Libby app, because I was like, I'm just having such a fun time. Dark Lover makes me laugh out loud so many times. Spicy scenes have me sweating, and I love the mixture. I love all the individual characters. I am so happy for Butch too, because I was rooting for Butch. I was like, I know that he's not the main guy, but I want him to be happy. He's my boy. So I'm so excited to see where this goes. I am starting a bunch of new series, but I'm having a good girly time. I'm the girlhood and all that. You know what they say, read romance when you can't find it. So next, the romance about planes. Is it a romance? Fam, I have updates. I finished the Caroline book. Protecting Caroline. I finished it. And I'm giving it a high 3-star, low 4-star. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time with this. It's a strong, really good start to the series, and that is why I'm also giving it a lot of leeway for the criticisms that I have, because you can tell it's the debut book in a new series. This book does a lot of the heavy lifting with the world setting and kind of walking us through and holding our hand, making sure that we know all of the groundwork. And you know what? For a first book in a series, and I think it's one of the author's earlier works, I can kind of let it slide. Because it wasn't all the time, all the way through, but sometimes it really was step by step. This is happening, and then this is happening, and so thought this. Very formulaic. I think I let it slide because I've read the later books, and so I know how it improves, and so it doesn't really bother me that much. But if that's something that bothers you, don't start with that book. Story-wise and stuff, though, yeah, this is fun. I liked it. I love Wolf. I love Caroline. So the premise of this book, this is the first book in the Seal of Protection series. This book follows our boy Wolf, our boy Matthew Wolf, whatever his last name is. He meets Caroline when they are sitting next to each other on a plane, and they get drinks from the drink cart from the attendant, and they are moderately attracted to each other, and they get along, they're talking, on the plane and stuff like that. But then they get drinks from the flight attendant, And Caroline is a chemist, and she's about to take a drink, and she's like, "There's something in the water." And so she tells Matthew, she's like, "Don't fucking drink that." And turns out that it was a plan to hijack the plane, blah, blah, blah. And so they thwart the hijackers. And then there's a whole attempt of the hijackers trying to get a hold of Caroline and figure out, like, how she tipped off the SEALs to stop the plane hijacking and shenanigans. I shouldn't say shenanigans because it's more serious than that. But typical action movie, like, bam, 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 plot. And I saw someone on the Protecting Cheyenne reviews be like, "Oh, I started reading this series, but by this book, it got really boring to me because I figured out the formula." And you know what? That's fair and valid. The books do seem to follow the same formula, but sometimes that's just what you want. Sometimes it is comforting to just have the same kind of story but told different ways, because it's not just the same thing every time. So I get their criticism, but also I don't agree with it. That's not really relevant to this book though, since it is the first one in the series. This one was fun. It was fun. I love Wolf. I love Wolf and Caroline when I met them in the first book that I read by this author, and so it was really cool to actually get to read their story and find out more about them and their whole origins. I love them. Now I just gotta finish Sky Daddy and we can finish out this vlog. I am still liking Sky Daddy, and I'm gonna tell you something, and this may be a hot take. I don't think she's crazy. I think she's just on the spectrum. Source? Me. Spicy brain. I'm reading this and I'm like, I almost was her, not with planes, but there are certain things in my life that I got so hyper-focused on when I was younger as like a coping mechanism or just the way that I thought about things. I recognize the patterns in her thoughts about planes and how she compartmentalizes the world, and I'm like, girl, you're not crazy. You're just on the spectrum. Now, I'm not saying she's autistic, but she's on the spicy spectrum somewhere. I think very hard, but that's just a hot take, because I'm seeing all this. I'm like, yeah, the compartmentalization, the calculation, the formulas, the very methodical kind of logical way that she boxes things in. Well, this means this and that this means this. It's very literal and it's very matter of fact that, oh, well, they're reacting to me in this way, so I must be doing something right. And the lack of social cues and stuff like that, baby girl, use that play money to go to therapy. But I'm not hating it. I'm just kind of watching it the way that you watch a hamster in a cage. I can't read it at night because I'm scared it'll give me nightmares about plane crashes. I don't want that. Here's a fun fact about Chey. I don't tend to dream. I have nightmares more than I dream. What does that tell you about my trauma from a very early age? Probably more than you asked for, but here we are. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed and read more of Stormfront. Wow. Great show-off, Chey! I'm gonna read more of Stormfront when I go to bed, because I'm enjoying this. Bye. I have finished Sky Daddy. Thank God it's over. I didn't hate it. I'm an aerophobe. Flying in planes. So this book was just, it felt like bad juju to me. You know what I mean? I'm glad I don't have any flights planned soon. I'm so glad. I'm not a flyer. I'm not a flyer. Nope. I still stand by what I said. I think Girl's just on the spectrum. I don't think she's crazy. I think Girl's just on the spectrum. Was it well written? Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like, the way that it was written prose-wise. I like that style. The story itself, not the biggest fan. I didn't like our main character that much. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad I read it to have thoughts on it, but now I'm just glad it's over, and I couldn't read it too late at night because I'm like, this is gonna give me literal nightmares. I'll tell you my fun story, my very, very fun story about flying to Paris, because I did go to Paris. Chey, you hate planes, yet you flew to Paris. Yes, I did. Just because I hate flying doesn't mean I won't do it. But, so when I went to Paris, I took from B&A, from Nashville, to New York, and then from JFK to Charles de Gaulle. Well, we have a close family friend who is a very experienced flight attendant. Thank God, because she put a lot of my fears and, phobias and stuff to rest, and she was going to fly with me all the way to Paris. Amazing, right? She flew with me to New York, and she was flying on standby. And when we got to New York, and we were sitting in JFK, we were sitting at the gate for the plane to Paris, she couldn't get a ticket because it had filled up on the time that we had gotten to New York on the 2-hour flight to New York, and there were 8 standbys. And so she was like, I don't feel right, like, trying to jump in front of them, because she could have just talked to a flight attendant, you know, and got moved up. She was like, I don't feel right doing that, which I totally understand. I totally get. And she actually talked to some of the flight attendants that were coming on. They didn't serve with the same airline that she does, but, you know, it's like the same career. You got that camaraderie. So I want to say we were very well taken care of on the flight to New York and on the flight to Paris, but she didn't end up going on the flight to Paris with me, which is the one that I was more terrified the most, because it is 8 hours. Listen, 2 hours sucks, but nothing compared to 8 hours and over an ocean. There's nowhere to divert to. It's an ocean. And so I was like, oh, you can't go with me. This is the one that I wanted you to go with me on. And so I was really nervous. I was terrified, having a minor panic attack the entire time. And we're standing there at the gate, right, looking out on the tarmac. I'm standing there, I'm telling her, trying not to freak out. You know, I'm having an internal freak out. And she would just go, I hear her go, oh. I look, I turn around, across the tarmac, there is a plane totally, like, engulfed in the back end. And I was like, why would you point that out to me? And she was like, oh, I maybe shouldn't have said anything, should I? And I was like, no, you shouldn't have. And thank God, like, everything was fine. You know, obviously, I'm here. But that just goes to show that I don't do planes. Well, if I was meant to fly, I'd have wings, okay? I will do it. I will not enjoy it the entire time. I will say that for some reason, I've had much better experience on my international flights than regional flights. All my regional flights have scared me more than my international flights. The one from Boston back to Nashville, I was terrified the entire time. Because when we started at the plane, it made a noise, and I was like, pretty sure it's not supposed to do that. And maybe it is, I don't know, but it certainly didn't sound like it. And so I tried to watch an episode of Love Island. I remember nothing except there was a Slavic guy. That's it. That's all I got, because I was too busy being terrified the entire time. Counting down. I literally counted down the seconds. I was like, how many more minutes on the flight tracker? Okay, 44 times 60. I was counting down the seconds. That girl was in the trenches. So I'm very much an aerophobe. I will do it, but I will avoid it at all cost, if absolutely possible. But I'm trying to get better. I really am, because there's so many places I want to go, so many things I want to do. So I'm glad I got that book out of the way, because now I want to block it from my mind entirely. I really, really do. But in terms of being well written, yeah, it was. I'll probably make an addendum at the end of this video going over how many books I read and stuff like that. But for now, I'm going to go do something good for my mental health. Okay, bye. Editing Chey here, just to make this really quick outro, because I'm literally editing this video as we speak, and the only thing that I have left to do is make this outro. I believe I ended up reading 12 books in this vlog, which is pretty awesome. It took a little bit longer to film than I wanted to, because I had some stuff going on in between, but still, I feel like a successful, just casual, whatever the hell I'm reading vlog, kind of what those vlogs are meant to be, or these vlogs are meant to be. So yeah, 12 books, not too bad. Got a lot of library loans read, even if they were ebook loans, the library loans still count. So we stuck to our original goal, even if it wasn't surrounding all of the original books that I had at first thought I was going to be focusing on, which is, you know, par for the course with me. I don't really have plans specifically for the future of these vlogs. I know I'm going to start a new one real soon. It is currently September 24th, so I'm probably going to be starting a new one soon, but I also have a lot more book videos coming out, especially now that it's fall. I have a lot more themed reading vlogs coming out, and some more in-depth kind of book videos planned around certain series or certain books specifically that I hope that you're going to love. So, if you stuck around this long, thank you, by the way. And if you want to see more of these future vlogs, if you like these vlogs, or you're just interested in whatever the hell the themed vlogs or the chaotic, very in-depth, ridiculous videos I have planned soon that will be coming out are, then hit the subscribe button down below. Join me, stick around, hang out, whatever. I'd be glad to have you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you ain't heard it from anyone else today, I love you. Love and peace. Bye!